So today we're looking at barre technique or capo exercises, also called like just bar chords or playing a bar. And you can watch the video for free and learn from the video and get all the tips, but we'll also be using exercises from my new technique book, so you can check that out. There's a link for it under the video. It's like 122 pages, so it has lots of exercises for both hands. So before playing the bar exercises, we're just going to cover like some basic tips on barre technique, and then we'll just dive into the couple of exercises that I have for them. So of course, bar with your first finger, whether it's over 2 strings or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 strings, you're going to bar with your first finger. And you just have to keep it very, very straight. So it can't be at an angle. That's one of the biggest problems for students, is just when their finger's like at an angle. So it'd be close to the fret here and here, but not in the middle here. So you have to keep your bar finger very straight and very close to the fret. So close to the fret that you can feel the fret on your finger. Sometimes it looks like you're over top of the metal, but if you look underneath the strings, you'll notice that your finger just kind of hangs over a little bit, but underneath you have to be so cozy. So make sure you can really feel the fret under the strings there, and that your finger's straight and very close to the metal fret. Make sure you don't like pile fingers up. Lots of students do that. Try to keep your other fingers over top of the other frets, so that you're training your hand to do what it'll have to do in repertoire, right? Which is usually playing a bar chord and then doing stuff with the other fingers. Other tips, make sure that you're not doing a vice grip between the finger and the thumb like this. You don't want to be squeezing like this. Instead, use kind of the weight of the arm. Like I can do a bar without my thumb. Just by like using the weight of my arm and just pressure this way. That takes away from the vice grip, and lots of students will get fatigue in their hand, but you shouldn't get too much fatigue. If you just straighten your finger out and lay it across those strings, it should be fine, even without the thumb. That said, we do keep the thumb kind of behind the second finger here, so it will be back there, but just try to avoid the vice grip kind of squeeze. When you're first starting to learn bars, don't worry if it buzzes a little bit. Usually it just takes a little bit of time. For like lots of students, I'll assign them pieces with bars and it'll buzz for the first like 2 weeks or something like that. So just make sure you give it time and that you're focusing on keeping a straight finger and you're just being accurate, and then you'll kind of hone in on strings as we go. But some of the exercises will hopefully help with this. So let's dive into the first exercise. So this is placement and release. This is just basically trying out your first bars and not worrying if it buzzes too much. We're just going to try it out. So it'll be a half note followed by a half note rest. So we're just going to lay our finger across the first fret and we'll just strum with our thumb. So we're going to apply pressure, make sure we're straight and close to the fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on 3 and 4, just release the pressure. That way your finger doesn't get sore. 1, 2, 3, 4, move up a fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That might be something that you can just start with. Just do that once a day. Don't do it a lot. Don't do it for a long time. You'll get really sore. Just do it a little bit. Don't worry if it buzzes too much. Just get used to keeping your fingers straight and just playing. I think that's and releasing also, releasing the pressure constantly. You can't be practicing your barring by squeezing all the time and making your fingers sore. So that's just like a preliminary thing to just try off right off the bat and just give it a little bit of time before zeroing in on certain strings. So the next exercise is the string specific or barre correction. So on this exercise, we're going to apply pressure to some of the strings, but not other strings. It's really important that when you're working on your bar that you don't just apply pressure over the whole bar like this, but instead that you're being very specific. If there's a string that's buzzing, that you're being very specific and you're really squeezing that particular string. So it goes like this. you're going to apply pressure to the 6th string first, and you'll hear that note played. So you're going to apply pressure to the 6th string first, and you'll hear that note ring out. But I'm not going to apply pressure to the other strings, but I am touching them, so it'll create like a muted sound. So the 6th string will ring out. And now we're going to try to apply pressure to the 5th string. You might accidentally apply pressure to the other strings as well. That's normal. It's really hard to zero in on a specific string, but we're going to try to zero in on the 5th string. So again, we don't care if the other ones ring out or not. We're just applying pressure to the 5th string. And now the 4th string. Do you hear how I only apply pressure to the 4th string there? So I just have this like little tiny bit of negative bend there. And don't worry if you can't really do it, just do your best. And then the 3rd string. Second string. And 1st string. That's a really important exercise because it allows you to try to zero in on problem areas in your bar. If you're just practicing your barring and just trying to squeeze harder all the time, like squeeze, squeeze, and like just trying to do it by brute force, that's not going to do it. You need to be accurate, have good technique, and then zero in on a particular problem. If you really can't get it to stop buzzing, just try to readjust your bar a little bit like this. You know, like just avoid the creases in your hand, for example. Depends on your finger, right? Also, we tend to play a little bit on this side of the finger here. Not as much like this. We don't really go like this. It's more on that side. Okay, the next exercise. Barre and the left hand position playing. This will examine different lengths of bars. So 2 strings, and then 3 strings, then 4, then 5, then 6. And we'll be using these other fingers as well because it's important to make sure that we're maintaining the alignment of our whole hand when we're playing bar chords. So we're going to start with just 2 strings. So the top 2 strings. And you're going to play the 2nd string, 4th finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, and then the 1st finger will ring out because you're barring. So in the end, you'll have 2 strings ringing and sustaining. So here's the exercise. Rest your hand. Let's just try that one more time. So 2 strings ringing out in the end. Then let's do 3 strings. You can notice that when I'm doing like just a couple of strings, I'm not barring my whole finger like this. I'm just barring this area, and then there's a bend there. So that's okay. I'll probably stop when I go to the 4th or 5th string, or I'll just kind of gradually do it. You'll kind of notice as I go. Let's do 4 strings now. This is much more like playing actual pieces because you're barring but also using your fingers in a good alignment and good hand position. 5 strings. And 6 strings. It's a little bit of a stretch here, so just try to relax. Don't worry too much if it's a little bit difficult. If you're finding doing the larger bars with all 4 fingers being used, just start small and start adding strings 1 week at a time or something. So I think those 3 exercises cover quite a bit and just give you something to practice and something versatile to practice. That said, you know, like a lot of guitarists come from a popular music background. I started with classical guitar when I was a kid, but I also did rock stuff when I was a teenager, right? And jazz as well. And playing jazz, I did tons of bar chords, right? And if you do it in like a Freddie Green style kind of way, like this is the other exercise, by the way. It's a pressure and release through chord playing. So if we grab some 7 chords, like A7 here, and you do a quick strum, and then release the pressure. So it'd be like 1, release, 2, release, 3, release, 4, release. Keep touching the strings, but release the pressure. You get lots of practice playing chords, but you won't build up tons of tension in the hand because you're constantly releasing. So like a 12-bar blues, right? So playing bar chords a lot can really help, especially if you do it in this particular style, pressure release. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you know, pressure release, pressure release, pressure release, pressure release, just constantly, so that you get lots of barring practice, but with not a lot of like you won't even hear if it buzzes really that much with bar chords, and you just get to play a lot with not worrying too much. Just have fun. I think a lot of guitarists that play a lot of popular music and then they transition into classical guitar, or maybe they just do it on the side, like when after they're done practicing they hang out with friends and they just like play lots of chords, and that's really good for you. It's like a natural way of just kind of playing lots of bar chords. Alternatively, if you're not into that, you can just add cadences to the end of your scales, you know, doing like a 5-1 cadence after a D major scale. That's a great idea because you'll just do a little bit of barring after a scale. It just gives you regular practice. And if you're practicing your scales every day, you can just apply it to the end of your scales. But like I said, those couple of exercises plus like playing chords, particularly in a jazz or blues style with pressure release, I think can really, really help with your barring. So there's other lessons on barring on the website, so check out the lesson page and you can see videos by others as well.